Today we are going to talk about informal commands. What would that mean?
They're not formal.
Right, commands that are not formal. Is there a distinction between formal and informal in Spanish?
Yeah.
Yes. What is the two versus usted?
We are successful.
Now, we are going to talk about the two commands. Have you ever told anybody to do something?
Yeah.
You've ever told somebody not to do something. So you've used these. This is something that. Now, there are the two types of commands. There are the affirmative commands. And there are the negative commands. All right. What do you think the difference between an affirmative command and a negative command is?
Telling someone to do something and asking, being told.
No. Telling someone to do something, that's an affirmative command. Versus a negative command, telling someone not to do something. See it?
No. Get it?
All right. There's actually two different ways of doing this. In English, we usually say talk, don't talk. We put the word don't in front of it. In Spanish, there are two different ways of doing it. They're pretty simple. In an affirmative command, there are two steps to put a verb in an affirmative command. Okay? Now, in the informal, again, these are two commands, not usted. Okay? When we do this, the first step is put the verb in, where you're conjugating the verb. Which conjugation would you say? If I'm talking in the to command. There's a hint. Conjugated the to form. So let's think of a verb. What's something we tell someone to do? Eat, right? To eat. What's the verb to eat? Okay. So conjugating that into the to form would be what?
Adding an S instead of an R.
Comes. Okay. That's your first step. Your second step is drop the S. So now our verb comes becomes, if you drop the S, come. There you go. That's how you do it. Now, take a look. There is a shortcut, as if this wasn't short enough. Take a look at the result. The word come. What is that? Which conjugation is that?
It's like he, she
The
form.
L-A form. So the shortcut by putting an affirmative, by making an affirmative to command is just conjugate it. The verb conjugate the verb into the L-A usted form. That's it. That's how you would do it. So if John was being very quiet and I told him to talk, I would say,
You wouldn't do
Speak.
but in Spanish,
Oh.
habla. Because what's the verb? Hablar. I would say habla. Okay? If I had a sandwich and I was offering it to Cody and I wanted him to eat it, I would say, come. Right. That's all we do with an affirmative command. Are there any questions about these? Okay, we'll separate it out. Now we're going to talk about the negative commands. All right, in this case, there are a few steps to that. The first thing you're going to do, just like number one there, Conjugate the verb into the to form. Alright, so again, our verb, comer, becomes what? Comes. Okay, same thing. So far, so good. Alright. Second thing we're going to do, this is going to be, it's going to sound a little complicated until I explain it. You are going to add the, I'm going to call it the opposite ending. What I mean by that is if you think of AR verbs and ERIR verbs as opposites, then it being, if it is a verb that ends in ES normally, if it's an ERIR verb, it becomes what? What's the opposite of that? The AS. And if it's a verb that normally ends in AS, it's going to end in ES. So in this case, the verb comes becomes what? Comas. Okay. And then our third step, what do you think we're missing?
So that's how we make it negative. That's
Yep. So then comas.
But how different would it be if you just said no comes?
I'll explain that. That's a great question. Reason why is if I say no, if I say no comes,
Yeah.
because the no and then comes is not a command. So you wouldn't be using the command. It wouldn't be in the command
It
form
would
at all.
just be like no eating.
It's just kind of a, yeah.
Okay.
Now, the difference here, now first of all, I said, okay, I offer Cody a sandwich. I say, eat this, right? Come. Right? And then he goes, think about it, and I start laughing. Go, no comas. I'm ready, two different forms of it. Something happened to the sandwich, right?
So misleading.
I'm a mean person. So I say, come, and then he goes, eat it. No comas. Don't do it. That's the difference, okay? Two different forms. That's where it's a little different in English, because in English we just say eat it, don't eat it. We just put the word don't in front. And here you actually have to use different forms, okay? Learn them, practice them. You're going to be using both of them today. Are there any questions about commands? Any other questions, I guess I should say?